Laura.
Hello. I'm sorry, I just have to share that we keep going to start doing this and we kept getting distracted.
I know.
For like the last half an hour we've been trying to start and we haven't done it because it's like, oh, I'll just do this and I'll just do that. And then we go, what are we doing again? Oh, yeah, we're starting the podcast episode.
I thought you were about to go home and I was about to say bye.
See you later.
It's like, oh shit, we've actually got to do this, don't we?
Oh well.
It's Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday and that's that. But obviously the last episode was really, really intense and really, really heavy.
Yes.
So we're really happy to, although it was important to get it out anyway, and it's done now, thank God. And actually now we can focus on some positive sides of it. And we've got an amazing, amazing guest, Hanna Baxter, who is a fitness coach, does nutrition, and she's just really bloody fit. She's just an absolutely amazing woman. She also does a bit of modelling.
She's a total babe.
She's an absolute babe station. And I went to school with her. She was a year above me at school, and she has very recently been diagnosed with ADHD. So we are super grateful to Hanna for sharing her journey with us and giving us some pearls, because she's helping us with the things that we struggle with. As we know, like one of the points of the podcast is always that ADHD is not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So Hanna excels in the things that we struggle with. So she's giving us her pearls, and we hope that you take a lot away from it. And we're so grateful to Hanna for sharing that with us and sharing her very recent ADHD journey.
Yeah, let's go speak to her.
Yeah.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ADHD as females, the podcast.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we are ADHD AF. Seriously. We are two neurodivergent neighbours who moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances?
Since discovering the enormous impact ADHD has had on our lives and the horrifying numbers of missing undiagnosed females, it has become our mission to make some serious noise.
We want to use our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others.
So join us for a chat, or as it's called up here in Aberdeen, a blether.
Trigger warning, we will be covering some really sensitive topics, so please do have a read of the description of each episode before listening.
It's important to note that we are not medical professionals. We're not therapists or coaches. We're not qualified to offer advice or support. What we will do is share our experiences alongside resources and information from professionals. We will talk over each other and we will go off topic and forget the point mid-sentence.
We are both assigned female at birth, which means that we can only speak from the experience of life as AFAB people. However, ADHD AF is an inclusive space. Whatever your gender, you are very welcome here.
Yes, you are.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF.
Hello and welcome, Hanna. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Oh, that's so kind of you. So, please will you tell us your age, your full name, and what you do for a living?
Are you actually allowed to ask my age? No.
You're the first person we've had backlash from for this.
Actually, do you know what? Don't bother. Tell us your ADHD age.
No, I will tell you my age. I'm 40.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned 40 in May, as Laura knows, because we're very close in birthdays.
Happy birthday!
Hanna Baxter is my full name, and I am an online coach, I'm a nutritionist and a personal trainer, but I do everything online. So I did online, luckily, before COVID hit, thankfully, so I didn't have to go through that. And I've been doing that like 6 or 7 years now. So, I got into that job. Well, I work for myself, but I got into it after moving back from Spain. Before that, I did a lot of corporate kind of work. which never really quite fitted me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then got into this, which I absolutely love, really, really enjoy it. Some of the kind of ADHD side of things came into the fact that I never knew what I wanted to do work-wise. Never. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And then, I've kind of got into weight training a long time ago now, and then kind of went down the route of, I think I'm going to do this as a job, then studied to be a nutritionist as well, because I went through, I guess, a lot of, let's say, trials and tribulations with that side of things. And then I was like, I want to help other people with it.
Mhm.
And that's where we've ended up.
That's fantastic. So when you say you are training people online, like how do you mean? What does that mean?
So I write training plans. So I don't do Zooms or anything like that.
Right.
I write them a training plan. They do it themselves off their own back. They have accountability with me. So they check in with me once a week. So I check up on them basically.
That's fantastic, because we were literally talking about that, weren't we? About the accountability is such a huge part of it, because that's what's going to make you do it. When you can't do it for yourself, you have to, because
It really is. And it's working out what works for people, because you can go, oh yeah, I'm going to get this 5-day training week. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And realistically, that's not going to be possible for a lot of people.
Yeah.
What I do is I create things that they are going to be able to do and that they enjoy, and it's going to fit in with their life. Even if you do half an hour of exercise 3 times a week, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes that kind of pressure, for me, I was speaking for myself, I've always been that all or nothing person when it comes to exercise. And the thing is when you are going at it, it's unsustainable. But then that's where the all or nothing thinking comes in. It's like, well, I messed up today, well, I'm just not going to do anything this week, and I'll start again next week.
That's exactly what I'm like. I've always been like that. I'll commit to these ridiculous workout regimes and be like, yeah, I can do this. And I can for a week.
Yeah.
And then after a week, I'm like, that's too much. See you later.
Yeah. And if you're not going to stick to it rigidly, then give up.
Yeah. And that's what most people do. Irrespective of ADHD, that's what most people do. They go, oh yeah, I'm going to do. Same applies with nutrition, and it's like, I'm going to eat chicken and vegetables, or I'm not going to ever eat any cake again. And then it's like, really? Yeah. I mean, and it never happens. You can't stick to it until you give up. So my kind of approach is to get that middle ground and get people to see that middle ground. And because a lot of that all or nothing, I did a reel on this the other day actually, and a lot of it's mindset, because if you keep saying to yourself, oh, I'm all or nothing, then you're going to keep perpetuating it. Whereas if you start to go, yeah, this isn't perfect, but it's better than I did last week, it's better than I did the week before, and it's better than nothing.
And actually, I suppose as well, the allowance of actual life, that's important, feeling right, and actually, having a lie-in or whatever it is, having a takeaway once a week on Friday or whatever it is,
Yeah, and it depends on what the person's goal is ultimately, but if your goal's fat loss, for example, then you will be able to still, go out and have a few drinks. You will be able to still have a meal, but you just probably have to pick which one's most important. And it's managing the rest of your week around it. So, if you're at work and you're really busy, you might be able to have a little bit less when you're at work, and then, kind of save a bit for your weekend when you want to go out and have a few drinks. But it's just looking at that as a whole and making sure that, you're not trying to be perfect. Whenever I sign up new clients and I say, you will mess this up, you will not be perfect, and be prepared for that, because if you go into it trying to be perfect, you'll fail and then you'll give up. Whereas if you go into it and go, that wasn't perfect, but I'm going to draw a line under it, and instead of hitting the F it button, you go, oh, that wasn't great, but move on.
Try again next week. We'll try again tomorrow, whatever. But okay, so let's come back to you and ADHD.
Yeah.
How did you come to suspect that you had ADHD?
I went through a quite bad period with my mental health, quite bad depression and anxiety about 3 years ago. And I just thought that there was something more to it. I was just like, I just don't think that's it. There's something underlying with this. I think people have always joked about me having ADHD, but it's always been exactly that. It was always a bit of joke, like a bit kind of, yeah, you know, that's really funny. But I don't think, certainly back then, a lot of people really knew about adult ADHD existed, or it certainly wasn't as widely spoken about or publicised as it is now. And I just went to the doctor and I said, look, I think I looked it up, and I like literally went through all of the symptoms. I was like, reading my CV.
Yeah.
And I was like, I went to the doctor and they were like, I don't think. Anyway, they eventually referred me. Then COVID hit. So, you know, I think it was about a year waiting list anyway. Then it went to like 2 years, maybe.
Yeah. Whereabouts was this? Where were you?
I live kind of near Bristol Bathway,
Yes.
but it's the Bristol Healthcare Trust, I think. Yeah, and then got diagnosed just before my 40th birthday, so not very long ago.
How long ago?
So it was May, June, July, August.
3 months.
So you're freshly diagnosed.
Fresh. So when you said before that I'm putting words in your mouth, but you said something along the lines of he eventually referred you, the GP. What was that like? Did they not believe you, or was it?
I don't think he knew what it was.
Right.
I don't think he knew anything about it. I don't think it was him being an arse, for want of a better word, but he was like a bit like taken aback, I think. I just surprised him.
Yeah.
Just lack of knowledge. I think that's the impression I got. I might be wrong, but I think that was it.
It's interesting.
And so did you have multiple appointments, or was just in the one appointment that you were like, now I know, help me out here?
Yeah, well, I'd been in quite a lot previously with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And because of that, I guess they had a background, but then he did refer me in that appointment, I'm pretty sure.
So what do you think undiagnosed ADHD has cost you?
Oh, it's a really difficult one to answer. I mean, time is always a one for me. Like, I know that things take me a lot of time.
Yeah.
Nothing on the, like, financial, really. Like, I'm quite okay on that side of things.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, probably self-worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think I kind of beat myself up about a lot of stuff that I'm a lot nicer to myself about now.
Yay.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'd say it's cost me the most.
Do you feel like you're nicer to yourself because since diagnosis you can figure out all those things that you beat yourself up for, or do you think that that's just happened naturally with the work that you've put into yourself?
A bit of both. I think, like, my head before I was diagnosed was always like, I always knew that there was something not quite right. But I was like, is that just the way that I am? And I'm just a bit rubbish at concentrating. I'm just a bit rubbish at, you know, like certain situations. And is it just me? Whereas now it's kind of like, yeah, no, there is actually something up there.
Yeah.
And I think it gives you that validation to a certain degree. And I suppose as well, the more that I now understand where I can utilise things positively, but I have to be quite careful about when I do things and when I don't do things, and how I prioritise things to make sure that I get things done. Like, I have a lot on my plate with work. So, I have to be quite rigid in how I manage it. But I know when I feel a certain way that I can do certain tasks, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of no.
Yeah.
But
well, it is like we're always talking about that kind of self-inventory of like, you know, really looking and being honest with yourself about what you're good at, what you're bad at, how long things take you, how, like, you know, not setting yourself unrealistic goals to then, you know, beat yourself up for if you don't achieve. If I don't know if we've put this in, but it's a question that I've been wanting, that we kind of added, was with it being so fresh for you, like it's only a couple of months, and they say that the diagnosis, getting a late diagnosis like this is like a grief cycle. So how are you feeling in yourself, like now, like 3 months in? Did you feel that relief to begin with? Did you feel angry? Did you feel sad? And where are you up to now?
It's a difficult one to say, but I would probably say somewhere in the anger, denial type. No, not really in denial. Like, it was something that I think I already knew, and that it it was the case. So I don't think I'm in denial as much, but maybe, yeah, angry-ish, I guess. Like, it's just frustrating that I think I could have lost a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety around certain things if I'd have known earlier, because like I said, now I'm definitely better at being able to manage tasks, like things like not trying to do things at certain points, because then I get into a cycle of I'll beat myself up because I can't do it. And I get angry and frustrated. Whereas now I just go, right, you need to leave this for now and do something else.
Yes, put it down. Yeah.
Now's not the time to do this. And, you know, you can do it at a time when it is. Whereas before I'd be like, I'm just being a bit rubbish. Like, I need to push on with it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
But I get frustrated about like the time that I've lost for that and the anxiety that I've caused myself. And the kind of, I suppose, kind of, just beating myself up really about it. I think that's probably where I sit at the moment.
We didn't speak to see where you were at in your well, obviously you've got your diagnosis, but have you gone down the medication route, or is that something you're looking at, something you've started?
Yeah, I started pretty soon, to be honest.
Give me the
I was like, bring it on. The thing is I was just like, if I can find something that can make me focus, because that is my biggest challenge, and I've always been aware that it slows me down, and I don't really like to be slowed down. So I was like, why not? I'll try it. And obviously the way that medication works is not like with antidepressants or anything like that. Like, I didn't realise this quite naively, but I thought it would be like antidepressants or something where, it builds up over time. But I was talking to somebody the other day, actually, and I thought there was only one type of medication for it, but apparently not. And so because of the way that it works, I was like, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Just try it and see where it goes. I did a little bit of research, probably not enough, but I have, so I've gone. Do you want to know what it's called? Because I can't remember the name.
It's all right if you can't remember.
Is it Elvance?
Yeah, Elvance is the one that I have. I get on okay with it. It probably wasn't the miracle that I was hoping for. Yeah. It definitely helps. Helps. But in terms of focus, it's really helped quite a lot. So I think I was expecting, like, you think that you're going to be on Limitless, don't you? Limitless.
Capable of everything. I think I thought like that for a long time. Obviously,
and then she saw the state of me.
No. And the more I read and researched about it, the more I'm just like, well, don't expect miracles when it does happen.
Yeah.
Like, I
think that's the thing. It has greatly improved my life massively, but I've still got ADHD.
I know. It doesn't. Dawn, have you still got waiting for your official diagnosis?
Yeah, so I'm on the NHS, and I've just got my appointment on the 4th of October. So finally.
Yes.
Oh, that's really good, because actually, it'll be different because they're different trusts, I guess. But mine was really, once I got the appointment, it was really quick.
Yeah.
But it's just the lead into the appointment, and I've actually had quite good follow-up care. I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but like, I see on Zoom the doctor once a month, or I have done since.
That's really good.
I don't think that will continue, but
that's really good.
Yeah, so
that's brilliant.
And is are you through the NHS? Did you say? Yeah.
God, wow, that's amazing. Bristol.
We like to hear these.
I've always liked Bristol. I like it even more now.
You're moving here. So actually, I don't know if you're interested to know this, but so I had my initial appointment, like an assessment, then I had a second assessment, and then they said, you've got ADHD, definitely. And then they said, do you want to go down the medication route or not? Explained kind of the options with it. And I said yes. And they just tried me out. They started me on an initial dose, which they've since upped. But I see him like once a month at the moment, because he
That's fantastic.
That's really good.
Just asks how my health is, like what's changed, all of those types of things. So positive.
That's the dream there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you said, because like you don't struggle with finances, and obviously
What's that like?
well, yeah, what's that like? also what, like, because obviously we know that you are you do some like kind of fitness modeling stuff, don't you? And well, anyway, she's fit AF basically.
Yeah.
And what I want to know is, like, obviously as you are driven and you clearly are able, you're clearly up on the self-care, like what are your struggles then? How is it presenting for you? What is it?
It is mainly, it's just memory.
Yeah.
My memory's pretty bad. My focus is pretty bad. I'm very restless.
Mm-hmm.
You notice me like fidgeting constantly.
All three of us are.
I know. I've always got something in my hand.
Good, Hope. RSD, definitely. Yeah, and I'm very, very sensitive. And yeah, a very big inability to turn off and like just get quite anxious about different situations. But it's mainly, my biggest thing is like if I can't focus, and it's the frustrations around that. But everything else, I have, and I don't know if this is just because as well I'm older, like I've had to learn how to manage it all.
Yeah.
Like I know I can't, if I don't write something down straight away, I can't remember, like I won't remember it.
Yeah.
So I have like a lot of systems, in place that will help me deal with things, because otherwise I would not be able to cope.
But that's brilliant, isn't it? And that's exactly it. It is, doing what you need to do.
Finding out what works for you.
It was on there. Where are you at on the late diagnosed roller coaster? I jumped ahead. So next question: if you could implement change to the diagnostic process, what would it be? But yours has been pretty good, but you still had a way.
Yeah, just speed it up, really. Like I can't say that anything within it once I got there was bad, but it's just a massively long way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just that they throw more resource at it, and education as well. Like I said, I don't think the doctor that I spoke to initially even knew about it, but I do think in the last probably 2 to 3 years that's come on a lot anyway.
Definitely.
And I think more doctors would be aware, but
it's just unfortunate that now some are saying that it's just trendy and an excuse. So that's the other thing. There's the backlash of that. But we digress. Let's not go down that road. Let's talk about you some more.
Let's not go back.
So do you think there are any positives to ADHD?
Yeah, I do and I don't. Like, certainly for me personally, rather than this being an ADHD thing, I think a lot of the things that I've had to go through actually ends up making me really good at my job, because I understand other people's struggles. And like, actually, a lot of things that people without ADHD struggle with, I really get how to do those, because I've had to do it kind of harder, especially because I've had to, things like routine, I've had to work really hard to be able to get a routine that I can stick to. So it kind of helps me help other people more, because it's doable.
That's so fantastic.
So it's like where people every day, neurotypicals and stuff struggle. You've had to struggle 10 times worse, so exactly
the way to think around it, the way to change the perspective. It's really interesting as well, because that's similar to what Dr. Alex Connor said, where he said that he feels like it's given him more compassion for people because of the struggles that he has faced. And that's such an interesting point. We've not heard that before at all. It's like, because of everything, you having to shift your mindset and push through to get things done, you can now go, look at it this way, and help people in their struggles. That's amazing. Yeah,
and it is the compassion side of it as well. Like when you've been through something, I think, and certainly in the industry that I work in, there's a lot of, I think it's disappearing more so now, but there's a lot of the nobody cares, work harder type situation. Shut up and get on with it. And actually, that's not how I approach things. Like, there's usually a reason that people, sometimes it is just, people not doing things, but there's usually a reason behind why you're not doing something. And it's if you start to look at that reason, then you create something that you're going to stick to. And ultimately, that's always my kind of ethos with everything, is that it's no good if you can't stick to it long term. So working out where you can stick to it. And I think just the ideas side of things. I mean, that's also one of my frustrations, is that I have too many flipping ideas.
Yeah.
I want to do everything. I want to save the world and but it's also one of my kind of positives. I wouldn't say that I'm particularly creative, like in the traditional sense of creative, but I definitely am good at coming up with lots of ideas.
Yeah, you're a creative thinker. It's thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. So what we would like to know, really, well, do you know what? Just whatever you want to tell us, like, because you've obviously working with people break through these barriers and achieve their goals and stick to routines and take care of themselves that are, you know, potentially for us, that's all the things that we struggle with. And what we hear a lot of ADHDers struggle with is, you know, the self-care, the routine, and sticking to things. Like, what would you like to share with us?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is, like what I was saying, is about making things as easy as possible as you can. Like, don't create a really hard routine that you're not going to be able to stick to, and being realistic with it, because it's great, like I said, it's great if you can work out 6 times a week and you can just do, but most people won't realistically do that. And it's building on those like little habits. So like if you're doing 7,000 steps a day, then start to try and do 8,000. Then once you build that, go to 9,000. And it's just making it easy and like habit stacking to a certain degree. So putting things as well onto other things, that works really well. Or, kind of giving a bit of a reward behaviour, so that, I'll watch TV while I do some cardio, like my really favourite junk programme that you like to watch, like you do it whilst you're doing some steps, or, like.
So is that sorry, just to be really clear, so so that example that you've given, would that be the habit stacking, or is that reward? Like, what's the...
That would be a reward. So habit stacking is like when you do something that you would do routinely, like say you make coffee in the morning, you then take supplements with your coffee. Like that's one that I do, because I know that I know that I'm going to do it. So it kind of goes with it.
That's the thing that happens every morning. So then you're adding another, if
you've got something that you do already routinely do, it's adding it onto that. But just setting reminders. Like I have to remind myself to do everything. Like I was doing a post for Instagram, and I was like, I'll do that over the weekend. I'll do the... Totally forgot. So I had to set a reminder yesterday, and I was like, right, so I'll do it today. And it's schedule things, especially with fitness side of things, like put it as an appointment. And the accountability side of it, definitely, like working with a coach or somebody who can help you, or even just with a friend, like saying we'll go for a walk at the weekend, or we'll go and do a class, we'll do a workout together. That really, really helps. And also celebrating like your failures. Like I was saying, don't berate yourself when things don't go right. Go draw a line under it and move on, but make sure that you're going, actually, I did this. And reviewing your week or even days, like journaling, I find is really, really helpful for that. Just kind of a bit of a brain fart and what you want to, get out. So something that I do as well with my team is each week we do like celebrate wins, what have they done in the week? Because it's easy to go, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do this.
I could have done that better. I could have.
And actually, what does that do other than make you feel really crappy about yourself? If you start to look at the positive side of it and what you have improved, then that tends to work really well to then motivate you to do more of the positive stuff. Whereas if you start to go down the kind of negative route, it just tends to snowball in the same direction.
And in terms of like exercise, there's so much information online about exercise being helpful for ADHD and all to alleviate some ADHD symptoms. and also like food as well. What's your feeling on all of that?
Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that I got into training, is because I find it really helps me with my mental health and just overall. I train like more weight training, and that definitely helped in just mindset in general for me. But it's a bit deep, but like taught me about like being okay with failing, and that really helps in other aspects, and understanding that things aren't black and white. And, you know, the more that you stop looking at things as being perfect, actually the easier it becomes, because especially with nutrition, like nutrition is not black and white, and it's when we start to see it as being black and white that it then goes, well, it goes like this or like this, where, you know, and you get these
that's the all or nothing. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about that quite a lot, like ADHD is having black and white thinking. I know I do.
Oh, I definitely do.
And there are so many shades of grey, as we know. But the thing is, you know, it's interesting that you said about not doing it perfect, because obviously perfectionism can be another ADHD trait. And do you have like how have you managed to get past that? Like, do you have any tips on how to stop thinking that way?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't always get past it.
Yeah, of course.
But on the food side of things, I mean, probably for me, it was more about education and understanding that, you know, you can eat cake, you can, you know, you can have a glass of wine, you can have all of these things. It's understanding that you can still get to where you want to be, but that definitely helped. And it's just experience, really, like from my own experience and clients' experience of actually seeing the evidence that you don't need to be perfect. Like, when you start to see it, I think the problem more so is if you are seeing things in black and white, and it means that you're going to that extreme with either one, you never really see a result. And because you never really see a result, you believe that you need to still be perfect.
Yes.
If you get a balance of the two, because you are able to go, not perfect is fine, but I need to be, you know, within these boundaries. I can't just be like here or here.
Yeah.
Then you do start to see a result, and then it just kind of affirms that you're
on the right track, and you can get there without being perfect. That's super interesting. So what does your week look like, or what do you tell people to do? I mean, I'm sure obviously all of your plans are going to be different and tailored to people, but like in a nutshell, like what does your week look like? If you say you're checking in with your clients a week, right, once a week for that accountability, then would your advice be to listeners who are trying to implement change in their lives and look after themselves to look at it in a week by week structure? Would that be your advice?
Yeah, I wouldn't, like, just because if you look at a week overall, that's enough time that, you know, you can get something in over your week. Whereas if you go like, oh well, I'm starting on a Monday, and then, you know, if messing it up on Monday, then
that's it,
we're done for the week.
That's the week. Yeah.
And it's like going, oh, I can't do this today, but I can do something tomorrow. And it just, so
the idea is, rather than being like that whole mindset of, right, tomorrow's Monday, I'm going to do it, I'm going to run this far, and I'm only going to eat grapes or whatever the hell ridiculousness I've probably told myself in the past. Oh no, believe me, I would have been there. But the thing is that if you look at it like, this week for myself, I'm going to aim to do X, Y, and Z, and then do your best and aim for it, and not be so strict with it, but just aim to get a couple of workouts, hit a certain amount of steps, and eat some healthy food, kind of thing, and just go a lot easier. Yeah,
and I think the other big thing is always to kind of look at it from a perspective of positive things you're adding to your life, rather than like the way that people think about diet and training is like it's a punishment, and it's you know, it's something horrible, and, you know, diet starts, you know, whereas if you start to think about it from like a perspective of that you're going to feel better, like, you know, if you go to the gym, you're probably going to come out feeling better, and doing things that you enjoy as well, like that comes into it. But and with nutrition, you know, like you're going to be adding some nutrients to your life and, you know, things like that. But yeah, because you asked about my week. Do you mean my, like, personally what I do?
Yeah, like how you see your week as you look ahead. Do you prep your meals? Do you, what? No, good. I was going to say, how can she be ADHD and a meal prep?
So I actually said this on Instagram earlier. Like, somebody asked me for recipes, and I was like,
what?
I can't follow recipes. I hate recipes. Like, I basically will skip a step, forget something.
Yeah.
Mess it up. Or I get bored halfway through it and then just decide to make it up. So yeah, I don't really do recipes. I mean, I occasionally will, but so yeah, I chuck food together. I mean, when I started out, I was a lot more rigid with it because I didn't really know what I was doing. But I'm quite kind of like, I've been doing it a long time now. So I have very similar meals during the week. I've also found that my medication means that I'm unable to stomach certain foods. It's very strange.
Oh, really?
I just thought of it and I'm like, no, can't have that. So during the week, I'm quite rigid just because I'm happy with that. Like, I like the meals that I have, but I just stick to the pretty much same things. And then weekends are a little bit more free, involve a bit more rosé and a bit more meals out, things like that. And that's where a lot of my clients will sit as well, because
I think that's good though, isn't it? Because I think sometimes it's like, oh God, like I feel like, oh God, that's so embarrassing if you keep sort of having your go-to meals or whatever. But actually, like, let's keep it simple, people. Like, why give yourself something else to worry about, you know?
If they work, I mean, like, some things I have a basics. I have oats pretty much every single day, and I'll just change the fruit I have with it, or I just change, do you know what I mean? Just change something about it when I get a bit bored.
Yeah.
But as long as you're getting, ideally, you want a good variety of nutrients over your week. So I change my like fruit, veg up, and I will change protein sources, things like that. But I have and this is what I will say to people, is just have some staples, because the easier you make it for yourself, the more likely you are going to be to stick to it. I mean, even things like, I will say to some clients who are really busy, you know, have some frozen like ready meals. Like most supermarkets will do a healthy, even Aldi and Lidl do healthy ready meals that are high protein. Have it in the freezer, and so when you really can't be bothered, or when you haven't got time, or when you want to order a takeaway when you probably don't need a takeaway, then go to them, you know.
I think that's a really handy tip, because I'm really bad for that, like not having something on the days that I've come home from work or whatever and I can't be bothered cooking, and I'm just like, I can't be bothered, I'm just going to order a takeaway. But if I had something really easy to hand, like a microwave meal, I would do that. So that's super helpful.
And people see things like that as being a bit like the devil, and you have to, you know, you have to cook everything from scratch and you have to make everything super hard.
That's my mindset though, because I am a bit like that. When I cook, I have to cook everything from scratch and make everything from scratch. And so I think that's part of the mindset that I need to work on, is that
it's perfectionism, actually.
It doesn't have to be like, I'm like, fuck jar sauce and you know, all of that. But
I used to
like, I maybe need to be less of that perfectionist
because
around
that's
food.
all or nothing.
Because if I had, sometimes it'll be a 65p pizza that's in the freezer and I'll grab that. But I could get a ready meal. That would be better, you know.
That's true. But what about like treats, for example? Say, like, if people have their dinner and they want to have something sweet afterwards.
Well, I was going to ask what your guilty pleasure was.
Rosé, apparently.
I do like rosé. So basically, with diet, calories in versus calories out is what matters. So you could ultimately eat a diet of Snickers only, and if you're burning more calories than comes in, then you will lose weight. Or if you're at a calorie balance, so it's the same, you'll maintain your weight. Now, that falls down on the fact that you would probably be really hungry, feel quite sick, and be malnourished. But, you know, like, theoretically, it would work. So I tend to work by like an 80-20 rule. So I say to clients, make sure about 80% of your food is whole food, you know, good stuff, single ingredient foods. And then 20% have a bit of what you want, and however that presents for different people.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to do these things because going back to that all or nothing, it's like if you don't have your kind of guilty pleasures, you will fall off. And there's loads of options now, like that are lower calorie, things that you can have to give you that sweet treat, if you like. And again, it's when you have those things, you then don't feel the need to, as soon as you've had one, scoff the entire lot.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
so
mine
two
too.
things I was going to say is, what I really like about what you're saying is that basically no food's a sin. And I think that that's fantastic, because I think definitely from my perspective, obviously better now, but like this psychological idea of things being bad. And then that can trickle over into something else. It's not only feeling bad about yourself, also if you've want a better word, you fucked it now. And then that's the all or nothing kind of thinking. But also sometimes, like you were telling a story about chocolate bars and like just keeping going because the dopamine is going and you're getting that hit or whatever. Like, do you have any advice for how to sort of get out of that cycle? If you have, well, I guess it is a binge, isn't it? It's like you're trying to hit something else. It's something in your brain rather than something in your stomach. Kind of.
And I really struggle when it comes to, like, if I have a packet of chocolate bars or a packet of 6-pack of crisps, I'll eat them all in one go. Yeah. And I won't even realize that I've done it until after it's gone. And then I'm like, oh, I have learned just not to have snacks and food in the house, because if they're there, I know that I'll eat them all. Yeah, and it's a difficult one. Like, ultimately, you don't really want to be able to have to not have things. No. Yeah. The more you stop having them, almost the worse you make it. Yeah. And the more off limits you make them, the more desirable they become. Because as soon as you go, I can't have that, it's like, really want it. Yeah. And so it's kind of introducing them in a bit of a safer way. Now, obviously, if it's to an extreme where it's like binge eating sort of, then it needs to be treated. But a lot of people have certain foods. And I used to do it. I used to be like this with chocolate. So I'd be like, I can't have like just a couple of squares of chocolate. Like if I have a big bar of chocolate, I'm eating the whole thing. Because, and it was exactly because of that mindset. And I would go and buy a big bar of chocolate and then just eat the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas now, like, I have chocolate in my house all the time, but it's kind of introducing it in like a safe way and giving yourself a bit like daily. Like if there's something that you really like, I would actually almost encourage it to start off with, but get yourself some portion controlled. Yeah. Doing it initially, like, and then you will find it easier because it's like a scarcity mindset around that I'm never going to be able to have this again, so I must eat as much as I possibly can because I'm going to stop after this and I'm not going to do it again. Yeah. And the reality is you do it again and then you feel awful because you've broken your promise to yourself. It results in a lot of kind of feelings of guilt, and I am lucky enough to work with people that we manage to transform that mindset. And I think that's where coaching comes in quite a lot as well, because it's somebody saying to you, actually, it's all right. Like, you know, you haven't ruined everything because you've done this. And it's just introducing it slowly, and it's not cutting it out. Or even doing things like having the lower version of like, so if you've got a favourite crisp, like get some crisps that maybe aren't your favourites, you know.
That's true.
And then have those. Ultimately, it comes down to including it rather than excluding it.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I was just thinking that when you were saying that, I was like, oh my God, I had this massive realization that I've always been that person. So don't have treats in the house, don't have anything bad in the house because you're just going to eat it. So don't have it there. And actually, the last few months, we have had stuff in the house, just like, you know, a packet of biscuits or whatever. And what's really interesting is that if we're going to sit down in the evening and be like, oh, have a cup of tea, have a couple of biscuits, job's a good one. But in all the time previous that we would be like, oh, don't have treats or only have treats at the weekend. I literally sound like I'm 6 right now, but I'm carrying on. Then it would be like, oh God, should we just get something in? And then you end up like either going to Asda or getting something delivered. Yeah. all of the biscuits because you didn't have any, and that's it. It's the scarcity. You're so right.
And it's also because you've then gone out of your way to break your promise to yourself.
Yes,
it's like, well, now
might as well be worth it. Fill your boots.
And
actually, it makes a lot of sense.
And who actually, like, you know, like I used to have a thing with them, like bakery cookies, and I'd be like, I can't have them because I'll just eat the whole bag. Like, you enjoy the first one, the second one's nice, third one, not really, fourth one, I feel sick. And it's like now I can have one, and it's like, that was really nice. Because I don't, because I don't.
Well, you're not doing anything wrong in having it.
Again, it comes back to kind of the education side of it, and also it does depend on what your goal is ultimately as to how you're eating. But if you do eat a little bit more one day, you'll probably end up eating a bit less another day, and it does balance out over time usually. But it's forgiving yourself with it, and like you said, it comes back to very much the labeling, like, this is good, I'm being bad. And that does tend to set it off. Like, food is all food. It's calories. They have calorie values. They've got different levels of nutrients. It's looking at it from a perspective of they will do different things for you. So if you have a big chicken salad, it's probably going to provide more food volume. It's got higher protein in it. It's going to keep you fuller. And if you're dieting, then fat loss is a goal, then you might need to have more of those. But if you are just wanting to maintain your weight, and you don't maybe need to have as many, and it's like knowing what fits you at what different stage. But the biggest thing is just not excluding anything, making sure that you're not taking those things out, and it does make a difference. Sounds like, Laura, you've already found that out though.
It's honestly been such a long battle in my life. And I think that it's quite funny because I got to the beginning of this year and I was really, really overweight, and I was just like, I've had enough. Had enough of feeling shit. Like, it's the last year of my 30s, it gets harder to lose weight and all of that stuff, and like, it's kind of now or never. And realizing that every time that I've wanted to lose weight, get in shape, try and be healthy, I've been very unhealthy about it, and I've been very extreme about it, and it doesn't work. And so it was actually like having a word with myself and going, no, hang on a minute, actually learn your lessons. This doesn't work. Try it another way. And so it has just been like, I got whatchamacallit, I can never remember what they're called, not a pedometer, a Fitbit. I got a Fitbit.
Other brands are available.
They're not paying me. But they can if they like. And literally, and because I am, as I've said many times, very, very childish, like it felt like a game. I wanted to see the little rainbow circle thing go around. That's how juvenile I am. And so when I did it, I was like, yes. And so
that's like a reward thing.
It's a reward thing. And I'm nerdy. I like the app. I found it like a little game, having my Fitbit, just getting my steps in and eating healthy. And then, like, just not being so extreme about it has worked for me, and it is working for me. So
my problem with my watch is that I get object impermanence with it. So like, I'll have my Fitbit on and just not look at it for weeks. And the battery can die, and then I can.
You had it on without a battery. You had it on your wrist dead for weeks.
It was there for weeks, and I had no battery in it. It was just there
Except she says I haven't got mine on because my head's in.
And every single day I would still look up to see the time, and I'd be like, oh yeah, it's dead. And I forget
every time.
That's brilliant.
What do you say about, you said about habit stacking. Do you think that it is better, although you're setting these goals, to just not even bother with this whole trying to force a routine? For so many of us that struggle with a routine, do you think it's still worth aiming for and remembering not to get it perfect? Or do you think it's better to just be like, this week I'll try and do this, but whatever?
I think it's probably about knowing where you have your strengths and where you don't a little bit, and and putting that on your own spin, like you said about the step thing. If that motivates you, then that's great. Like, it's finding things that you enjoy or that motivate you. And I think, again, going back to that, you know, exercise, nutrition doesn't have to look an exact way. It can look different for everyone. And I think we have a very fixed, and this is kind of society as a whole, a very fixed view of like, this is what exercise and nutrition must be. Whereas actually, if you struggle with a routine of getting to the gym, maybe it's because you just actually don't enjoy it as well. Whereas if it's something that you feel like, if you, like I said, if your steps is like motivating you and you aren't having to force it as a routine, then if you find something, maybe, you know, go and find a class or explore some different things, you know, that will be easier to make into a routine. But your routine doesn't have to be a really, really rigid routine as well. Like it can be that you do things like we said over the course of a week, but where they fit in that week can vary depending on where you're kind of sitting on different days. It's about giving yourself some flexibility with it. But also, if you do want to get somewhere, then let's set some goals and start to kind of remind yourself. And I talked briefly about journaling. Like, if you can do something like that, that's really helpful. Or even just sticking reminders in your calendar, somewhere, again, like that you're going to see things.
And I guess also, like, with a lot of ADHDers, you know, sometimes we have a low boredom threshold, is that each week doesn't have to look the same. So if there are things that you enjoy doing, you know, you can do all different kinds of exercise, get your steps in or go swimming or whatever. And it's just trying to be more active. But then you could also within that encompass the things that, you know, you're not going to get bored stuck doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I'm fairly like you in the rewards type thing. So for me, like, weight training is really good because each week I progress and it's like, oh, I've got to beat myself.
Yeah.
Like that provides it for me. I guess if you can find something as well that there's that level. But yeah, it doesn't have to look a certain way. You could do different things each week. You could give yourself, you know, different challenges and things like that. But again, I think that's where the accountability and like having somebody else or competing with somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like, competing with somebody on steps, or, you know, saying that we're going to do this and not, you know, those types of things might be a bit more of a motivator.
There is a thing for that, isn't there, on the said watch where they go, where they
can
where
do
you
the
can
work,
do with a
work
friend
week
and
hustle and stuff.
That's true.
You can do the challenge. You can do the challenges, and that works. Some people love those, but I think I think the biggest thing is you have to work out what works for you. And it's once you do that and you find what really does work, then it becomes a lot easier. But also,
and I suppose you're motivated as well, so you know you've got the momentum, you know that it's working.
But also it's knowing that as well, and I kind of say this outside of anything to do with ADHD, is that there is sometimes times when you probably do have to push through a lack of motivation, and that it can be really hard. But I think if you can set up things to encourage yourself in that situation, you know, like I was saying about rewarding yourself after it, you know, things like that does help.
The one other thing I was going to say to you is with the weight training, do you think that is a bit like when people do yoga, for example, it you know, it's really concentrated movements. Like with weight training, you have to be so careful of your form and everything, that I guess that in itself is kind of really mindful, like quite meditative. And do you think that's part of it, is like for your brain function, is like getting yourself in the room kind of thing?
Definitely, because I definitely struggle with like busyness, and it does give me a little bit of release from that, I guess. Whereas I can't meditate. Like I use it with some of my clients, but personally I just find it really difficult and frustrating. But that does it to a certain degree for me, and it like helps me switch off from other things, because you kind of have to concentrate.
Helps you stay present. I'm like that when I go paddleboarding, because I'm standing up on a paddleboard and I'm having to keep my balance. It does definitely help me stay more present.
I think if you've got no choice, you kind of have to.
But I get distracted is when I fall in. What's that?
I was talking to a client who did some paddleboarding at the weekend, and I really want to do it now. It sounds really good.
Oh, you should. It's so great. Like I just switch off when I'm on the water. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a fear of water that has any animals in it. I don't like fish. I've got a fear of fish. And not to eat them, but to like being in water.
But I'm sure you will be like so sturdy and balanced with all your weight training and your core. You'll just be on there like nothing.
I'm really accident prone, which also plays into ADHD slightly. So
yeah.
So like clumsiness, banging into things, falling over. I'm queen of falling over.
Terrible. I'm always having accidents, covered in bruises. The other day in the gym, like I had a plate, a 20-kilo plate in my hand, just threw it on my foot.
Oh my God.
What are you doing? I was like, I can't believe it bounced as well. And somehow
you didn't hurt yourself?
Yeah, it really hurt. I had to try.
Okay. Well, do you want to tell us what the most ADHD thing you've done this week is?
I think I just have.
I know. I was away to say, was it throwing the weight on your feet?
I think it was slightly over a week ago, but I think that one will do. That was pretty
that one
bad.
will absolutely do.
That's fair. Well, it's been so lovely speaking to you. I've definitely taken a few things on board.
Yeah.
And we'll try and implement things in my life a little bit better and go easier on myself. And yeah, I think hopefully that other people listening are going to take some things on board what you've said as well.
I'm sure they will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we're so glad that your medication is helping you with your focus. And we're just so grateful for you for taking the time to do this with us. So
no problem. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, that was a long episode.
Yes, we got so much out of that. So we don't want to keep talking on because Hannah has given us so much to take away from. So thank you to her. And I just love that actually, because we struggle with the positive sides of ADHD, and I just love the positives that Hannah shared. It was actually like, oh, hang on a minute, that is a positive. The struggle in itself has made her, have to fight so hard to rise above things. She has the empathy and the understanding in how to inspire that in others. So that is such a positive. Woo! Yes, Hannah. And we're just going to leave it by saying, if you've enjoyed this episode and you've taken a lot away from it, then please do please do drop us some stars for a start, because that really helps us in the ranking, which helps us get the message out to more people.
Yes, and you can also go to buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as females, where you can buy us a coffee, which helps support us and what we're trying to do. It helps pay for our outgoings and go towards the merch that we are slowly getting together.
And we're so excited about it, and we know you're going to love it. So we can't wait to get that to you. So thank you so much to your donations to our Buy Me a Coffee page, and thank you for any shares, likes, comments, saves, recommendations, everything in the kitchen sink. We're super grateful, and it's not always easy, but it's so worthwhile what we're doing. So it really means the world to have your support and to hear that it's resonating and that we can be a tiny bit of help is what we do it for.
Yeah. So as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we'll see you next week.
See you soon.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ADHD as females, the podcast.